Good afternoon. I'd like to convene the Management Committee of the Board of Forestry. We've got some new faces in here, some folks we haven't seen at least in a while, so good to see the interest in our activities. We've got 3 substantive issues on the agenda, and then in a moment I'll have one of you two, Jane perhaps, give an update covering the hybrid meeting format. Just a couple of reminders. This is a business meeting, and we've got a number of agenda items that we need to work through. There is no public forum in committee meetings, so there's no opportunity to speak on unagendized items. So we just ask that the comments, any comments that are made are focused on the agenda item that we're talking about at that time and as relevant to that point as they can be, so that we're able to progress through and hear what everyone has to say, but also get through our agenda items. So real quick, how many do we have online?
We have
5. Okay. Very good. Well, I look forward to the discussion today. I'll turn it over to Jane to give an overview of the meeting format.
Good morning. This meeting is at the Resources Building and virtually online in good GoToWebinar software. If you're in person, speak up and project towards the front. There's a pretty steep drop-off in microphone sensitivity. The further back you are, the louder you have to speak. State your name and affiliation so participants know who's speaking. During the discussion period, speakers in the room will raise their hands to make comment, and then, time permitting, the committee will move to the online participants. If you're online, speaking works best with phone audio. Click on the audio tab and select the option for phone. If you wish to provide public comments, please select the hand-raising function. We'll monitor these from our end to make sure we answer them. Remain unmuted. We'll handle all muting and unmuting from our end. Put technical questions such as issues with hearing or commenting in the questions panel, but please avoid providing substantive comment in the questions panel. Submit that by voice. We have to pause the meeting, leave the software running because it can be difficult to reconnect. Welcome to the Management Committee meeting.
Thanks, Jane. We'll move on to the first agenda item. It's a presentation by John Romali, Deputy Chief of Forestry Assistance, on adjustments to the cap rates and mini management plan template for the CFIP program.
Good afternoon,
John.
Board members, Jason Party, John Romali, CAL FIRE. So last year we came to the board 2 times. One earlier in the year, we had not adjusted our cap rates. So the way CFIP works is we actually set the rate, the maximum rate that someone can charge. So people, if they get work done that's actually less than that rate, we'll pay the lesser rate, or the most we'll pay is our cap rate, and then either 90% of that or 80% of that based on their acres. So we came to the board early because we had not adjusted it in 3 years, and so we did a quick inflation-only adjustment last year early, and then towards the fall, that summer, we reached out, we did a census and survey looking at some of the RPF communities and some of the operators, because we hadn't really looked at our rates hard in a long time, and we had obviously a range of rates. Our highest recorded rates were probably in the Tahoe Basin, and then we had rates that were significantly lower. And so since we were setting a statewide rate, we basically had to figure out which was the best for the people, the public of California, as far as watching their money and then also paying enough to get the work done. So that's what we settled on last year. Some of our rates rose total for the year last year 35% based on that survey. This year we're doing a 7.4% inflation only increase. We may do an annual increase like we're doing now at the December meeting next year, depending on inflation. If it does lower down, we may skip a year, but for the most part, we're now just kind of in an inflation-only adjustment. So we've raised everything 7.4%. The only difference is we do have, which is another item that I'm going to talk about, we have 2 management plan options. One is a full management plan. The California Cooperative Management Plan meets the United States Forest Service's Forest Stewardship Plan definition. If a person does that plan, they are also able to apply for EQIP, which is the Natural Resource Conservation Services Environmental Qualities Incentive Program, which is similar to CFIP. So if they do the full management plan, they can apply for both. However, many landowners really just want to, and it is a requirement, I'm sorry, for the act, that a management plan has to be on the property before any groundwork is done on the ground. The second option we have is a mini management plan. The mini management plan is based on the bare minimum statute under the California Forest Improvement Act and the California Code of Regulations when it comes to CFIP. So it actually is much less information than the Forest Service requires. This will allow landowners to provide us adequate enough information to know what they're planning on doing and then get to work in a much quicker fashion. The full management plan usually takes probably about 6 months for people to prepare. The mini management plan, people can probably get that done in a couple of weeks. So that, as you can see from the rates, again, like they raised about 35% last year, total rate year over year. Now it's about 7.4. So you can see we have a light, a moderate, and a heavy rate. We negotiate that with each landowner when we go out there and look at them. We visit every grant that we go out. We actually visit the grants. We negotiate the rates with the RPF. It's a requirement that every CFIP grant has an RPF attached to it. And then we have last year we also came up with a couple of special rates that were negotiated only rates, and one of them was because of substantially damaged timberlands. So we had a number of landowners that had burned property that had no value. They had a bunch of burned land, a bunch of burned timber, but they had no ability to log or salvage anything. So we came up with a new rate which would allow people to get rid of some of the hazardous debris more so than you would normally find, and then get into reforestation. So that is the first subject. The second one, as I mentioned, was the management plan. We had a mini management plan template that we had been using. It is still far more than the bare minimum is required in the California Forest Improvement Act. And we wanted people to have that option to just what is necessary to meet statute, or what is necessary to meet regulations, and that's it, and then go to work. So we now have actually 3 management plan options. One we introduced last year, we called it an emergency forest management plan. That is for people who have salvage logged their property. They can use the emergency notice as a management plan. The mini management plan, the new template, which is substantially less, and it's going to be significantly easier for foresters and landowners to get through and quicker. And then the full management plan, which we have actually increased that rate more than 7.4%. We want to encourage people. This is the full management plan is a plan for landowners to manage their property long term. If they want the information, we want to help pay them for that information. And some people will use that they'll spin that around and maybe use that for a non-industrial timber management plan, but we have landowners, that's what they want to have, the full Monty. They want to have everything that they need to manage their property in the long term. The mini management plan is for people who really their primary concern is they want to get out there and either thin their trees or do release, etc. Those are the 2 options.
Okay, couple of questions. Did you see a significant interest in the CFIP program in general when you implemented that significant rate increase or increase in the cap rates last year? 35% is pretty significant.
Yeah, we've seen a significant increase. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We have one area that we do have a backlog in the Nevada, the Grass Valley area. We actually hired a new person and put them there just to help us get through that backlog. And so, yeah, we did see a really significant uptick. And we feel right now, I think we've got enough funding for 2024 and 2025 at the rate that we're going. We are the only grant program that works directly with landowners. Most grant programs are dealing with nonprofits or RCDs. We work directly with the landowners.
So the program is not oversubscribed at this point?
No.
Okay.
No.
You've got adequate funding to fund all the projects?
And yeah, we've been releasing about $1.5 million to $2 million every 2 months in grants.
Wow.
And we have grants that we've even had some grants that have gone up to $600,000. And remember, people are out either 60,000 or more. It depends on the reimbursement rate. It's either 90% or an 80%. So it's a substantial investment for landowners as well.
Sure. Okay. So you're looking for this committee to recommend for board approval tomorrow a 7.4% inflation increase across the board, except on the mini management plan, which has been simplified, but the cost hasn't, the cap rate has not gone up on that.
No,
And then what about the cap rate on the full management plan?
the full management plan, we raised it from $6,000 base rate to $6,445, but we also then would pay $3 an acre. We've raised that to $5 an acre.
Okay. So it's 7.4% on base rate, and then you increased the per acre from 3 to 5?
3 to 5.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
No questions. Thank you for your detailed explanation and survey of landowners and RPMs last year. So I think really helpful information in determining rates. We appreciate it.
Any questions from the group on the CFIT cap rate proposal? Okay, well, we'll take, do we have one? Oh,
I just had a comment.
you bet. Go ahead, Andrew.
This is Andrea Eggleton, California Licensed Foresters Association. I just wanted to express support for the increases that are proposed and thank the department for the work to put that together. I think that, especially I know the management plans were not as much, they weren't increased in the last one, I don't think, and so that's really important and overdue. You know, we get asked for more and more information from the department in the plans, it feels like, and so we want to be able to provide what's needed, but then we need to be paid. And I just, you know, to point out that I hope this continued, that rate increases continue. It was not really on a regular basis in the past, and you know, what happens is that the rates get a few years behind, because for these rates right here, it's going to be probably at least a year before, you know, landowners are actually using them based on all the applications that are there in front of them and how long it takes to get funded and things like that. So just things to keep in mind as we kind of continue to move forward. But want to thank and support all the work. Yeah, and just to say too, on the mini plan, I mean, I think it still provides more information than actually the EQIP and NRCS plans that I've seen from some other clients are even more minimal. So I still think that the mini plan is a useful and helpful product for landowners.
And one last thing is, because we've had this question before, is we don't go back and revise or amend our existing grants, as Andrew said. The grants that we have